The oppressive, glooming light of Dalthus, a mining world shrouded in perpetual twilight, cast its ominous shadow over my heart as I, Barros, a young apprentice of the trade, found myself trapped within the suffocating depths of the once bustling mine. The once vibrant lifeline of our hardy clan had succumbed to a catastrophic collapse, sealing us within its claustrophobic embrace. Beside me stood my fellow apprentices, a motley crew bound by the shared hardships of mine life and the camaraderie that forged us into a brotherhood. Malcor, the stout and stoic one, his broad shoulders radiating an aura of unwavering resolve. Ilara, the nimble and resourceful one, her sharp eyes scanning the encroaching darkness for any sign of hope. And Uriel, the quiet and observant one, his mind a repository of forgotten lore and whispered tales of the mine's ancient secrets. As we ventured deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels to join our shift taskmasters deep down, an eerie silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the rhythmic drip-drip of water echoing from unseen depths. The air grew thick and stale, heavy with the weight of countless years of munning. A sense of dread crept into our hearts, a chilling premonition of lurking danger. The air became heavy all around me, an aura of oppression set unto us. Suddenly, a guttural howl shattered the silence, sending shivers down our spines. "By the throne," Ilara said. A monstrous form emerged from the shadows, its hulking body contorted into a grotesque mockery of an orc. But it was darker and more grotesque than one of the greenskins we've seen on the HoloNet. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural green light, and its misshapen limbs dripped with a viscous slime. Panic seized us as the monstrous greenskin abomination lunged towards us, its guttural bestial screams echoing through the tunnels. We scattered in all directions, our hearts pounding like hammers against our ribs. The mutated orc, their hunger for human flesh insatiable, relentlessly pursued us, their guttural cries growing louder with every step. Malcor, with his brute strength, wielded a heavy pickaxe, tried cleaving through the orc with all his strength only to be hit and fall. Uriel and me helped him up. Ilara, swift and agile, darted in and out of the shadows. "Listen, we cannot deal with this. We need to move," she screamed. Uriel, his mind always sharper than us, unleashed a barrage of stones, each one finding its mark with deadly accuracy to the back of the tunnel, distracting the monster for a few seconds. Despite our desperation, we could see something at this moment where we were not sure if it was real or not. The orcs seemed to multiply right before our eyes. Or was this an illusion? Was it just this one, or their numbers were relentless and overwhelming? Were they coming? We started to run. We were driven deeper into the mine's depths, our hope dwindling with every step. "There must be a way out. We cannot fight this monster," Malcor shouted, his voice echoing through the tunnels. Ilara, her eyes darting around, spotted an ancient shaft partially concealed by fallen debris. "The old ventilation shaft," she exclaimed, a glimmer of hope flickering in her voice. With renewed vigor that a man can only feel in the presence of certain doom, we cleared the debris and heaved open the shaft's heavy cover. A gust of cool air greeted us, a welcome respite from the oppressive atmosphere of the mine. We peered down into the darkness, our hearts pounding with anticipation. Could this be our escape? It was shut down who knows for how much time, I asked, my voice laced with uncertainty. Uriel, his eyes scanning the darkness below, nodded slowly. "It's our only chance. It's either this or face the beast," he replied, his voice filled with determination. One by one, we descended into the shaft, our hands gripping the crude ropes that served as our lifeline. The darkness was all-consuming, but the faint glow of phosphorescent fungi guided our way. As we descended deeper into the shaft, the oppressive gloom of Dalthus seemed to intensify, pressing in on us from all sides. The air grew colder and damper, the silence broken only by the rhythmic drip-drip of water and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed through the darkness, sending shivers down our spines. A monstrous form emerged from the shadows, its body contorted into a grotesque parody of an orc. Its skin was a sickly green hue, its eyes glowed with an unnatural luminescence, and its limbs were twisted and deformed. "Another one! Another mutated orc!" Malcor exclaimed, his voice filled with fear. The mutated orc lunged towards us, its jaws snapping and its claws outstretched. We scattered in all directions, our hearts pounding like drums in our chests. The orc pursued us relentlessly, its guttural cries echoing through the tunnels. Despite our desperate resistance, the mutated orc seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. Its eyes burned with an unholy light. We were on the verge of being overwhelmed, our hope dwindling with every passing second. Just when all seemed lost, a sudden tremor shook the tunnels, sending rocks tumbling down around us. The mutated orc paused, its glowing eyes darting around in confusion. "Divine providence, the Emperor gives us chance. We must use it," Elara shouted. Taking advantage of the orc's distraction, we made a break for it, sprinting deeper into the darkness. The mutated greenskin roared in frustration, its guttural cries echoing through the tunnels, but we were too far gone. We stumbled through the darkness, our hearts pounding and our lungs burning. The air grew colder and damper, and the silence was broken only by the sound of our own footsteps. After what seemed like an eternity, we emerged into a vast cavern, its walls shimmering with an otherworldly glow. A sense of relief washed over us, the weight of impending doom lifting from our shoulders. But our ordeal was far from over. As we ventured deeper into the cavern, we discovered that we were not alone. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, their forms grotesque, and their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. We knew then that we had not escaped the horrors of the mine. We had merely entered a different kind of darkness, one that was even more terrifying than before. As we stood at the edge of the vast cavern, its walls shimmering with an otherworldly glow, a sense of dread washed over us. The oppressive silence was broken only by the distant echoes of strange creatures lurking in the shadows. We knew that our ordeal was far from over. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice tired and desperate. Malkor, his broad shoulders radiating a newfound sense of unwavering resolve, stepped forward. "We have to find a way out of this cavern. The Emperor has guided us and helped us in our hour of need," he said, his voice firm. Elara, her sharp eyes scanning the darkness, nodded in agreement. "There must be another shaft or tunnel that leads to the surface. It has to be a way," she suggested. Uriel, his mind a repository of forgotten local lore, spoke up. "According to old and now rarely used maps, there is a sealed shaft located deep within the cavern. It is said to lead to an abandoned network of tunnels that once connected to the old ventilation system. This is from the abandoned mining operation deep down. It was shut off once it was mined out years ago." A glimmer of hope flickered in our hearts. Perhaps this sealed shaft was our way out. With renewed determination, we ventured deeper into the cavern, our footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. Strange creatures watched us from the shadows, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, but they did not attack. It was as if they were waiting, observing, gauging our every move. As we pressed deeper into the cavern, we stumbled upon a hidden alcove, its entrance concealed by a curtain of shimmering fungus. Inside the alcove, we discovered an ancient map, its parchment brittle and its markings faded, but still discernible. Uriel carefully examined the map, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It is as I suspected," he said, pointing to a series of interconnected tunnels leading to the sealed shaft. "This map shows us the way." With the ancient map as our guide, we navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, our hearts pounding with anticipation. The closer we drew to the sealed shaft, the more intense the presence of the strange creatures became. They seemed to sense our desperation, their glowing eyes following our every move. Finally, we reached the sealed shaft, its entrance blocked by a massive stone slab. With all our combined strength, we pushed and heaved, our muscles burning with exertion. Slowly, the stone slab began to give way, revealing a dark abyss below. "There we go," Malkor exclaimed, his voice filled with relief. Elara, her nimble fingers working with practiced ease, fashioned makeshift torches from the shimmering fungus. As we descended into the dark abyss, the flickering torchlight cast grotesque shadows on the walls. The air grew colder and damper, the silence broken only by the rhythmic drip-drip of water. The strange creatures seemed to fade away, replaced by an even more ominous presence. A sense of foreboding crept into our hearts, a chilling premonition of what lay ahead. As we descended deeper into the dark abyss, the flickering torchlight cast grotesque shadows on the walls, dancing and swaying in the oppressive gloom. The air grew colder and damper, the silence broken only by the rhythmic drip-drip of water, echoing through the cavernous tunnels. The strange creatures seemed to fade away, replaced by an even more ominous presence, a chilling stillness that hung heavy in the air. My heart pounding in my chest, I clutched my makeshift torch tightly, my eyes darting around in search of any sign of danger. Malkor trudged ahead, his pickaxe held at the ready. Ilara, her hands working with practiced ease, adjusted the torchlight, illuminating their path through the labyrinthine tunnels. Uriel, his mind a repository of forgotten lore, whispered ancient tales of the mine's hidden depths, his words echoing eerily in the oppressive silence. Suddenly, a glimmer of light pierced the darkness, a faint glow emanating from the distance. A surge of hope electrified our hearts. Could this be the exit? With renewed energy coming from our newfound hope, we pushed forward, our footsteps quickening. The glow grew brighter, guiding us through the maze of tunnels. Finally, we reached a narrow passageway, its walls lined with an unfamiliar mineral that shimmered with an otherworldly light. As we emerged from the passageway, our eyes widened in awe. Before us lay a vast chamber, its walls encrusted with the same shimmering mineral. At the far end of the chamber, a shaft of sunlight pierced the darkness, revealing a clear passage to the surface. "We made it!" I exclaimed, my voice filled with a sound of relief. Malkor, his eyes scanning the chamber, nodded in agreement. "This is the old ventilation shaft, or at least it seems to be so," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "It leads directly to the surface." Ilara, her face alight with hope, stepped forward. "Let's go. We have not the time to waste here," she urged. With renewed determination and adrenaline still shooting on our bodies, we raced towards the shaft of sunlight, our hearts pounding with anticipation. The oppressive gloom of the mine seemed to lift behind us, replaced by the promise of freedom. As we emerged from the shaft, we were greeted by the blinding brilliance of the Dalthian sun. A gasp of relief escaped our lips as we took in the sight of the vast, barren landscape stretching before us. We had survived the horrors of the mine, we had escaped the clutches of the mutated orcs and the depths of the cavern. We had found our way back to the surface, to the world of the living. The blinding brilliance of the Dalthian sun stung our eyes as we emerged from the depths of the mine. Was it the sun? Did we even have a sun? My mind was warping in a way, our lungs gasping for fresh air. The oppressive gloom of the underground world seemed to melt away, replaced by the harsh, unforgiving landscape of Dalthus. Despite the harshness of our surroundings, a sense of relief washed over us. We had survived the horrors of the mine, the clutches of the mutated orc beasts, and the depths of the cavern. We were back in the world of the living, battered but unbroken. But our ordeal was far from over. Our world, Dalthus, is a dangerous place, teeming with creatures far more monstrous than the mutated orcs we had encountered in the mine. As we ventured into the barren wasteland, our eyes scanned the horizon for any sign of danger. The air was thick with dust, the ground littered with the wreckage of abandoned mining equipment. A sense of desolation hung heavy in the air. Suddenly, a guttural growl echoed through the wasteland. A couple of feral orcs, their bodies gnarled and their eyes burning with a feral hunger, emerged from the shadows. They seemed small, almost the same size as us, and just wielding wooden clubs. "We have no place else to run! We have to fight!" I screamed as I gripped my work pickaxe. Our hearts pounded in our chests as we drew our makeshift weapons. Malkor, his pickaxe held at the ready, stood at the front, a shield of unwavering resolve against the tide of savagery. Ilara grabbed some rocks from the ground, facing in the sunlight, threw them at the orcs, giving it all she had. Uriel with her, we all joined, in desperation against the tide. My adrenaline surging, I swung my pickaxe with all I had, cleaving through the orcs' ranks. The feral creatures fought with a savage ferocity, their claws ripping and their fangs tearing, but our desperation fueled our resolve. We fought with the ferocity of cornered animals, our survival instincts kicking in. We had faced death in the depths of the mine, and we were not about to succumb to it now. The battle raged for what seemed like an eternity, the air thick with the stench of blood and the cries of the wounded. Slowly but surely, we began to gain the upper hand. The orcs fell back, their feral instincts replaced by fear. Finally, with a triumphant roar, Malkor struck down the last of the orcs. The battle was over, but we were battered and exhausted. Our bodies ached, we bled, most of us with broken bones and bleeding, missing teeth and sweating the adrenaline. Our clothes were torn and our spirits were frayed, but somehow we live on. We had survived. We had faced the dangers of Dalthus. Whatever happened to Dalthus this day is something that we will not learn from some time. And this moment, we emerged victorious. We were survivors, and we would find a way to make our way back to our home, back to our families. As we stood amidst the carnage of the battle, a sense of pride filled our hearts. We had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. We had faced death and lived to tell the tale. The barren landscape of Dalthus stretched out before us, a desolate panorama of dust and rock. The sun beat down mercilessly, casting long shadows from our weary forms. We had survived the battle with the feral orcs, but our bodies ached and our spirits were frayed. As we trudged through the wasteland, our eyes scanned the horizon for any sign of life, any indication that we were not alone in this desolate world. But the only sign of life was the occasional vulture, circling overhead, its beady eyes fixed on our every move. After what seemed like an eternity, we stumbled upon an abandoned mining outpost, its structures crumbling and its windows shattered. A sense of desperation washed over us. We had to find shelter, to escape the harsh elements and the watchful eyes of the vultures. We ventured inside the outpost, our footsteps echoing in the cavernous spaces. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. A sense of dread crept into our hearts, a chilling premonition that we were not alone in this abandoned outpost. As we stood amidst the chaos of this day, a sense of awe mixed with fear washed over us. We had faced the unfathomable abyss, the depths of despair, and emerged victorious. We were survivors, but we knew that our journey was far from over. The dangers of Dalthus still lurked ahead, waiting for us, ready to test our resolve and challenge our will to survive. With the Greenskins defeated, we emerged from the abandoned outpost, our bodies battered and our spirits frayed, but our resolve unbroken. The barren landscape of Dalthus stretched out before us, a daunting expanse of dust and rock, but we knew we had to keep moving. Our survival depended on it. As we trudged through the wasteland, our eyes looking at the horizon for any sign of civilization, any indication that we were not alone in this desolate world. But the only sign of life was the occasional vulture circling overhead, its beady eyes fixed on our every move. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Our supplies dwindled, which were nothing more than a day ration and some water in a canteen. Our hope flickered, and our bodies grew weak from the harsh conditions. We had faced the depths of the mine, the feral orcs of the wasteland, and the mutated creatures of the abandoned outpost, but we were not about to give up. Just when we were on the brink of despair, we stumbled upon an ancient signal tower, its rusty structure rising from the desolate landscape like a beacon of hope. With renewed vigor, we raced towards the tower, our hearts pounding with anticipation. As we reached the tower, we discovered a dilapidated control room, its walls covered in ancient symbols and its equipment long since decayed. But amidst the ruins, we found a functioning energy source, its power still humming after centuries of dormancy. With trembling hands, we activated the tower's signal beacon, a blinding light piercing the darkness of Dalthus. We waited, our hearts pounding with anticipation, as the signal echoed through the void, searching for a response. And then we heard it, a faint, distant response signal, its origin unknown. A surge of hope electrified our hearts. We were not alone. Someone had heard our call. As the response signal grew stronger, a sleek metallic vessel emerged from the darkness, its form unlike anything we had ever seen. It descended gracefully towards the signal tower, casting an otherworldly glow upon the desolate landscape. With cautious steps, we approached the vessel, our hearts filled with a mixture of fear and excitement. The vessel's doors slid open, revealing an interior filled with advanced technology and beings unlike any we had ever encountered. They were tall and slender, their skin a pale blue, their eyes large and luminous. They spoke in a language we could not understand, but their gestures were friendly, their intentions seemingly benevolent. We were ushered into the vessel, our senses overwhelmed by the alien technology that surrounded us. The vessel lifted off from the surface of Dalthus, ascending into the vast expanse of space, carrying us away from the desolate world that had been our prison for so long. Listen guys, I know you are thinking these Xenos are a threat to us, but they are not. They came to save us when nobody else did. The Tau came for us, and this is why we must give them a chance, Uriel said. We were too injuried, demoralized and tired to argue, so we went along. As we gazed out at the stars from a window of this strange ship, a sense of awe and wonder washed over us. We had survived the horrors of Dalthus, and we were on our way to a new world maybe. A world of possibilities opens. But where were we going, and what did the future hold? We had no answers, only questions, such as the one that came to my mind at this time. I said, "Hey guys, why didn't we see any other of our clan in the mines or outside?" Everyone's skin crawled, and cold sweat ran through our bodies as the alien ship we were on now took off.